Right, welcome back to Wtf Rc Cars. So, carrying on with the RC10cc build. We're going to try and work through this now. I've still got one E-clip missing and we don't have the replacement hubs yet. But I'm going to try and get as much built as I can. And my plan is to leave whichever E-clip is easier to get to without having to disassemble it all, leave that one missing. So, let's bring in for a close-up look and see how we get on with this. So, moving on, we have the rear arms and the brackets for them, and these are actually marked L and R. So, if we start with one of the longer of these bars, should be able to get that through. Then we just need to get one of his little E-clips on. And as E-clips go, these aren't too bad to put on. It's just a shame we got one missing. Certainly if you buy one of these kits, I would suggest before you start building, open all the bags and just make sure you've got all the parts, and at least then you can either message the store you've got it from, or Team Associated, or CML if you're in UK, and try and get the actual parts, so at least you stand a chance of being able to build it all in one go. So we've got these assembled. Now we need to bring back our chassis, and we're going to need 4 of the screws. So it's telling us we're going to mount these, and it's showing up for the frontmost holes. So we're going to have to flip this upside down, and if we line our frontmost holes up, so we're going to fasten that one on that way, and then we should be able to get this one on as well. So we just need to tighten them down and then we can carry on. Right, so we've got our rear arms assembled. So let's move on, see what else we've got. So moving on, we're going to have to set up our rear hubs. Now for this, you build basically the left and right exactly the same, except you put one of the ball studs on one side for one and the other side for the other. Because they're going to sit like that, front of car facing that way, and you want your ball stud on the same side for each one. So first off, we're going to get our hub, and you're going to want to insert a bearing or a bushing from either side. Then we're going to need as axle, and we drop one shim over. Then we're going to place that through the bushings. Then you've got 2 shims that go on next. So we're going to want one sat down, then the second one. Then we've got to get one of our little pins through. So you can get them through, they're just really awkward, but you just have to squeeze them through. So we need to get a little ball stud screwed through in the top, and this is a 3/16. And again, you're going to have to be really careful when you screw these together, because you just want this end to be snugged down. Don't try and over tighten it. So that's one assembled. We're just going to do exactly the same with opposite side, but you're fastening your little ball stud. That's going to be our right hand one, and we're going to fasten his little ball stud in the left hand side for this one. So once we're finished, that is what we should end up with his little pins through. And it's definitely a strange design. I'm I can see how it would be a bit awkward to get these bushings as a bearing, but not impossible. But certainly if you needed to work on it at track, you've got to try and press this out. And I'm not sure if once it's been used it'd start getting loose. So yeah, I think Shelf Queen is probably for the best with this RC10. But let's carry on, see what else we've got. So moving on, we want our little ball studs facing to the front of the RC or towards your chassis. Then we're going to get one of our little pins and we've got to put that into place, and we do that on both sides. So once we've got that in, we just need to put our little E-clips on both sides, and this is where we're going to come unstuck because I still haven't received my replacement E-clip. So unfortunately we're going to have to just pretend we've got all 4 on, and I'll fit 3 of these. So I'll get these clipped on because it's a bit awkward to get them on camera and you don't really see it because I'm putting my fingers around it to stop them flying off and getting lost. But yeah, we'll get these clipped on and see what else we've got. So there we have it, as little clips on. I've just put a body clip on the end of that one because that's the one I'm going to need to replace when we get the spare one sent out. So we've got his arms, and it's kind of getting like an RC. Must admit, not one of the most enjoyable parts of the build. Getting this pin in is a bit awkward, and the E-clips are annoying as ever. They're not bad as E-clips go these. I've not had any fly off or anything. So moving on, another oddity with this particular RC. So we have a spring that has to sit in one side. We have a little plastic insert that has to sit in the other output cup, and then you pretty much just put it together like that. So let's get the same on this side. So we want a little plastic insert towards the inner of the output cups. Just make sure that's pushed all the way home. Then we want to drop a spring down the center and just make sure it does drop in. And then we should be able to line his drive shaft up. And basically that's how they sit to stop them popping out. Now I have seen plenty of RCs with drive shafts that pop out, and this is the first time I've built one with a spring in it to stop it doing it. Can see why they went that road. But let's carry on and see what else we've got. So first we're going to be building up the rear turnbuckles. So for this I'm guessing you can use any of the... We've got 4 turnbuckles that all seem to be exactly the same length. So you want these, and they need to measure 14.20 millimeter, the gap in between. So I'll get them 2 built up first. Right, so that is our first 2 made up, and they are 14.2 mil. Next we're going to make a shorter one up, and this is the link between your steering, and this is 12.44 mil. So we'll get that one made up. So that is our steering link one made up. So your first ones, we want one of the turnbuckle sides up, one down. This one both facing down, and this is 12.44 mil. So we're then going to move on to building the next setup, which are the shorter of the 2 remaining ones, and these need to be 13.5 mil. Right, so that is the 2 built up for the front arms. So we're now moving on to the ones for the steering link, and these are going to have to be set to 27.7 mil. Right, so that's got these turnbuckles built up, and I can absolutely say these are the cheapest, nastiest made excuses for turnbuckles that I have had in any RC. in the entire time I've been using RCs. The plastic that the ends are made out of is awful. They're awkward to screw together. They feel brittle as anything. But yeah, I don't think anybody would have minded if Team Associated hadn't put these in and literally sent it with any other design. These are poor quality even for WL toys. I've literally got £80 WL toys RCs with better quality turnbuckles than these, but they are made up. It was a complete pain, and yeah, let's carry on with this what's turning into a pretty disappointing build. So we'll start with the first ones that we made up, and these are 14.2mm. You've got one of the end cups facing in either direction, so these should be for the rear. And make sure you get these measurements as close as you possibly can, because these are completely non-adjustable turnbuckles, as in you would have to remove them from the RC completely. So just make sure you got your springs still in your hubs and the little black stops in the output cups. Next, we're going to be moving on to this one that's for the steering. So let's see if we can get that on. So to put these on, I would try and support the plastic from underneath, because you don't want to be pushing down onto these and causing the plastic to shatter. So if you just get sort of a screwdriver or a hex drive down underneath here, and then at least when you're pushing on these, you're not pushing on the little plastic bits and trying to snap them. So once we've got that one on, should then be able to move on to these, which are for the front. And they are kind of off at quite an angle, most of these, but they're a pretty loose fit. So I can just imagine what it must have been like running one of these kits back in the day. You've got a real uphill battle against sort of quality at bits and the complexity of how it's put together. So again, when we put in the inner steering ones on, you're going to want to support your steering mechanism. Now, I've yet to receive my replacement arms, knuckles, so for this, mine look pretty shattered, so I'm going to try and sort of coax them on without putting it under too much stress. I'm not sure what the best way of doing this is going to be, probably pliers, because I don't want to put any more stress on the parts that are already shattered. So again, I'm going to support the steering mechanism when we're putting this end on. I think it's probably for the best that this is going to be a shelf queen, because they look quite fragile. But we do have steering. All the links on this do look at quite extreme angles compared to today's RCs. So we've definitely seem to have got better at geometry for the steering and suspension and the likes. But it is together, nothing's broke. my least favourite turnbuckles that I've ever made on any RC. So I think this is going to be as good a place as any to wrap this part of the build up. We have got a little bit of binding on this. It does feel a little bit stiff on that side. That one's looser. They're all fine. Usually if I'd got binding like this on an RC, I'd say file it out, but if you do that, you're going to scratch all the inside of the clear plastic up, which would kind of take away from it, and it's never ever going to be a car that's going to be seriously run this. It is purely a shelf queen. So let's wrap this one up. So there we have it, a little bit further on the RC10cc, and I'm kind of really torn with this build. On one hand, the instructions leave a bit to be desired. I certainly think there is room for improvement in that sort of regard. On one hand, I like the way that they haven't changed it from the original, so all the annoying, awkward bits are still annoying and awkward. It's good to get an insight on that. Don't think anybody would have minded if we'd have had some slightly better turnbuckles with this kit. The plastic feels really, really brittle on them, but then again, so does the rest of it. So yeah, it's a strange one. Up to now, loving the look of it. Kind of disappointed we had an E-clip missing and these shattered. It's definitely a bit of a weird one. I mean, I try and look at it not from sort of the RC channel sort of perspective, because for me it's just interesting to build something different. But if the experience that I've had was the experience of a customer that had, say, bought this for somebody's birthday, so I ordered it in November, didn't get it till February, so it's kind of a long wait. You've been disappointed because the birthday present you've ordered didn't turn up in time. When it did turn up, there were parts missing, so I couldn't complete it. Some of the screws don't line up with the sizing picture in the manual or the instructions in manual, so it's awkward to build. Followed the instructions to letter, put thread lock on, turns out you can't use thread lock on it. And it's been around a week now and I'm still waiting for replacement parts and the other E-clip. So we've got a body clip holding suspension on. So I think from your average customer's point of view, it's a definitely take away from what it is, which is a shame because I really like the idea of a clear build of a classic car that even if I had one of these original, I really wouldn't want to run it now. Struggle getting parts, or you just won't want to break it. And there's plenty of other cars out there that you can buy and run. I mean, leaving comments below. So far, my experience with Team Associated cars, so back in 2019, 2020-ish, we were just getting into sort of the race RCs. My brother bought the top at range Team Associated 4-wheel drive at the time. Not sure if it's B74 something. But straight out of box, that had got 2 left front arms and they're not interchangeable. There were a few other little bits that he had to get in touch and get sent. Then later on we bought the DR10 and that had got completely wrong bumper ink kit. It had got a broken seal for one at shocks, imp bag, and one at turnbuckles were mismachined. And then moving on, we've then gone and bought the RC10cc. And again, quality control issues, bits missing out at kit, instructions wrong. It's kind of a bit disappointing for a company as big as Team Associated that don't seem to be learning. So somewhere between the sort of design of the RC, putting it in production, quality control and getting it to customer is kind of failing. And it's a shame because they're making interesting kits. The race cars are pretty good. I've spoke to a few guys that say you can't use the Team Associated diffs. They just chuck them away out at kit and use ones out of X-Ray or another car because they just leak oil constantly. I know Gavin from RC Kicks, I did watch his build on this where he had one at screw edge just shear off. He's also had problems with Team Associated diffs leaking, so yeah, it's kind of, I don't hate what they're doing. I think somebody at Team Associated needs to really step back and have a look at where they're going wrong, because we've got all these other brands, and I mean, obviously I'm not a fanboy of any brand. I've pretty much got RCs from all of them. They have all made mistakes now and again. They've all done amazingly good cars. But for us, we've had 3 Team Associated kits of varying different sort of years now, of the past 5 years, and everyone's had a problem. But yeah, leave a comment below. Have we just been really unlucky? Or is this a common thing with Team Associated? Do you buy the kit and then just have to get in touch for whatever's wrong? But thanks again for watching Wtf Rc Cars. If you like this kind of content, don't forget to like and subscribe, hit the notification bell, share to friends and family, and catch you guys again in the next one.